Welcome to Whiskey and SV. I'm your host Sam, and tonight I'll be doing a blind tasting of Jack Daniel's 12-year and 10-year whiskeys. So in a previous episode, I did a blind tasting of the 10-year batch 2 versus 10-year batch 3. Just a little bit of history if you don't remember. About 2.5 years ago, Jack Daniel's put out the first age-stated whiskey in a very long time, and that was the 10-year batch 1. And last year, they put out the second batch of that, along with the first batch of a 12-year age-stated whiskey. And this year, they have a 12-year batch batch 2, which I only have a sample of. I could not get a bottle yet. And I have the 10-year batch 3, which I opened in the previous episode, and I thought it was really great, and I couldn't really tell the difference between these two, to be honest. So I was in a tasting this weekend with some friends, and we tasted the 12-year batch 1 versus the 10-year batch 2. And my friend actually preferred the 10-year over the 12-year. And it seems to be the case that even this year, a lot of the bourbon YouTubers say that the 10-year is superior to the 12-year. I don't know if that's the case for me, because I haven't done a blind yet. I tend to think that probably not, because the 10-year, while it's a great whiskey, when I did a blind to some other 10 years, like the 1924 and the Michter's 10, granted that those are really amazing whiskeys to kind of try to compete with, but it didn't really shine. Given that it's only 48.5%, whereas the 12-year is 53.5%, I tend to think my palate will probably prefer the more punchy, higher ABV. Now, it's not that much higher ABV, and in the past, when I did a blind between these, I was not able to tell the difference, so who knows. So without further ado, let's go and pour half ounces and get this blind on the way. So first, we'll pour the 12-year batch 1. Before we get confused, we'll put number 1 on the 12-year batch 1. Then we'll pour a sample of the 12-year batch 2. We'll put these next to each other like this. Next, we'll get the 10-year batch 2. Number 3 will go on batch 2 of the 10-year. Okay, so number 4 is the 10-year batch 3. Okay, so the purpose of this episode is for me to know, out of these 4, which are still sort of available. I mean, obviously they're not very available in the first place, but given that they were just released, you have some chance of being able to get at least the most recent batches. And you may actually get lucky and be able to find the previous batches on shelf somewhere as well. So yeah, I really want to know, is the 10-year really better than the 12-year? And out of the 12 years, is the first one really that great? Because the first batch of batch 12 last year got really acclaimed as being one of the best bourbons of the year. So it's one of those things that you are, curious. I'm curious to know. As usual, I'll nose everything first, and then I'll taste them, and then I'll provide some notes, give you a ranking, give you my guess, and then we'll reveal. Okay, so straight away on the nose, I get like sweet oak. It is quite oaky. But obviously, the bourbon, Tennessee whiskey is basically bourbon. The only difference is that it goes through the Lincoln County process, which is basically they charcoal filter it to make it smoother. But with respect to all the other regards, it can be called a bourbon, basically. So you get all the caramel, vanilla, brown sugar, typical bourbon notes. Quite a lot of oak in here. Beautiful nose. Let's go to the second one. Comparatively much, much sweeter. This somewhat reminds me of a Michter's 10, to be honest, because it is significantly more sweet and confectionery. Again, the vanilla and caramel are there, but the oaky notes are a little bit more subdued. The sweet notes are much more out and about. Sort of like fruity notes as well. Okay, I think between these two, I definitely prefer this nose. Third one. Okay, this one is also more on the sweeter side. Probably not as sweet as the second one, but yeah, much closer to the second one. I get a little bit of a mineral musty note in this as well. Okay, and we go to the last one. Yeah, this is back again to a little bit more on the oaky side, but definitely not as oaky as the first one. Okay, let me go back to the first one just to see now that the nose is acclimated. Do I still get the oak on this or not? Yeah, definitely this is more, it looks more subdued. It definitely doesn't have as much sweetness. It's more on the oaky side, and there's a little bit of a sourness to it, um, like an oak sourness almost. Okay, so I'll start by this. Okay, that is quite an intense oaky taste. Um, Sweetness comes out. There's quite a bit of the spices that come out as well, but definitely the oak drives most of the experience. Kind of surprising for a 12-year-old actually. Um, it's not bitter oak by any means. It's sweet oak, but for sure it's like kind of like the compared to the other ones at least, compared to the nose of the other ones I should say. On the palate, I get a lot more of the oakness that I got on the nose on it as well. All right, let's try the second one. Yeah, this one's very sweet. I prefer the nose on this the best. Okay, so surprisingly, actually, on the palate, this is also very oaky. Um, there's kind of like those baking spices, some tingliness that comes from it. Obviously, the vanilla and caramel are there, brown sugar type notes. Yeah, some mineral notes in this one as well, which was not there. Interesting. Okay. As to whether I think these are like 10 or 12, I'm actually not sure because they both kind of feel kind of intense. So I don't think any intensity is missing from either one. It doesn't feel watered down or anything like that. Now going to this, the nose on this now feels less confectionery, getting more like of the musty notes, like mineral, wet rocks, and things like that. Okay. Again, all that vanilla caramel is there, but I get more of a mineral experience in this one. I think the oak is there a bit less. It does have a little tinge of bitterness at the end. That's kind of mineral in nature. Um, yeah, it's a nice dram, but I don't know, probably not as nice as the other ones. Yeah, this one's all more subdued as well. It's closer to the first one, I would say. These two seem a little bit more subdued in terms of like the ABV um, compared to these two. These two are a bit more intense. So if I was to guess, I would say these are probably the 12s. These are the 10s. Um, but I remember when we nosed the batch 10-year batch 2, that was the best nose. So I kind of leaning towards this one being batch 2. But I have to say, like, it's not at all clear to me. Um, I'm not confident on that at all, right? So that's 5% ish ABV difference is not really big enough for me to be able to decisively say this is a 12 year, this is a 10 year, which is great news because like I think the 10 years are more available and easier to find and even cheaper on secondary. So um, just based on this alone, I would say you're not going to miss out too much if you go for a 10 versus 12. And yeah, I'll do one more because I just want to make sure that I once I've gone through on the second sip, it's always like you get some different notes. So coming back to this now, I get more of the sweet confectionery notes on it. Yeah, that's definitely like more intense. I would say that has to be like a 12 year. It's the oak on it is definitely like the driving factor for sure, and there is some stringency to it. It has been open for at least a week. Even the all of these have been open for at least a week. So I would say this is probably I would say that is probably like the batch 2 of the 12 year. I don't know, but comes across as that. This is very confectionery and aromatic. By far is my favorite nose out of all of them. Definitely got the intensity on the palate as well. Um, there's some like fizzy cola notes going in as well. Um, I I'm struggling to get that usual Jack Daniel's kind of peanut notes tonight for some reason. Usually, that's like the first thing that I notice when I have Jack Daniel's, but for some reason tonight I'm not getting any of that. Um, okay, if I was to guess, judging again, not based on anything other than the fact that everyone says the 12 year has to be the best one. So far, I would say this is my favorite. So I'm gonna say this is the 12-year batch one. Yeah, this one is like again more subdued. There's more bitter notes in this one, for sure. It has more bitter notes. It's like there's some citrus notes that turn a little bit bitter, like lime skin or something like that. I would say this is my least favorite out of these three at least. Which one is it? I'm not sure. I would probably say I don't know actually. Okay, let's see. Yeah, that's also quite minerally and has some bitter notes. I think these two are very similar. These two are more similar. Um, yeah, it's these are very similar in general. I just feel like yeah, for me the clear winner is this one. I would say given the fanfare that it's got, I would hope that it's this 12-year batch one, but given also what everyone else has been saying about the nose of the 10-year, it could be the 10-year batch two, or even batch three, because some people said the batch three is better than two. I don't know. At this point, I'm going to stop speculating about what others said. Definitely clear winner. Definitely clear loser. Um, I'm gonna guess what I would like to be, what what I would like them to be. I would like this to be 12-year batch one, because that's the one that's the hardest to get and the most had the most fanfare. And I would hope that this is the um, well, I would hope that it's like the 10-year batch three, but probably is not. Okay, so 12 years, 10 years. Let's do the reveal. Okay, so the first one is what is this? 4. So this is actually the 10-year batch 3. 10-year batch 3. Okay, so 10-year batch 3 is the most oaky. Interesting. Yeah, definitely. Now I'm getting that peanut note. Yeah, that is kind of surprising to me. Okay, so let's see which one I thought is the best one. This is number 1. Yes. So okay, I'm kind of happy about that because the 12-year batch 1 is clearly the superior one for me, and it's the one that I enjoyed the most. And yeah, that nose is just amazing. It's like kind of like reminds me of the Michter's 10 barrel, the A barrel or whatever it was. Okay, and then number 3 here, the one that I like the least is number 2. So this is the 12-year, the 12-year batch 2, which means this has to be number 3. Yep, and that means this is the the 10-year batch 2. So, what's the conclusion? Well, the conclusion is I think the 12-year batch 1 is well deserved to be kind of on top of people's lists. Um, I'm glad that they're all very similar. I mean, I was not really confident on any of the answers I gave. I think clearly this one is the best one, and clearly this is the worst one. Meaning, this year actually you're better off getting the 10-year over the 12-year. I'm surprised that some of my friends preferred the 10-year batch 2 over the 12-year batch 1, because for me, clearly, the 12-year is the superior whiskey. Well, those are my impressions and my personal preferences. I'm sure some people out there will disagree, but I hope you found that somewhat interesting and informative, and I hope to see you in the next episode. Take care, and see you next time.